from Nevis, and we had a few gold medalists from Nevis as well. And so we are going into day 2 in short order, and of course I look forward to joining the students and their coaches and the teachers later today. But we want to say commendations to our students from the Gingerland Secondary School and from the Charlestown Secondary School for the great job they've been doing so far to date. Just to give you an idea of the medal count, we have Charles E. Mills Secondary leading with 4 gold medals, 1 silver, 1 bronze, for a total of 6 medals. Verchilds High, 2 gold medals and 1 bronze, and that's for a total of 3. And in third place currently we have Charlestown Secondary Lions, 2 gold medals. And then we have Washington Archibald with 2 silver medals and 2 bronze medals, and Cairn High 2 silver, 1 bronze. Sadler's Secondary 2 silver, Gingerland Secondary 1 silver, CFBC 1 silver, and Bastia High with 2 bronze. And that's coming out of the events yesterday. Most of the events yesterday were field events, so we had some shot put, we had some long jump, we had some high jump happening yesterday. And as I said, the students did well. There were some preliminary events for the 400 meters as well happening yesterday, and we had the prelims for the 4x1 as well. Coming out, as I said, we had some gold medalists from across the schools, as I noted a while ago. However, I just want to highlight Zahnela Claxton of the Charlestown Secondary School Lions. He placed first in the under 20 boys long jump, so congratulations Team Mari. We had Malik Freeman from the Charlestown Secondary School Lions. He placed first in the under 14 shot put event, and so we want to say congratulations to him as well. We will continue to provide the updates to you, our listeners, but we encourage you to journey on to St. Kitts today and tomorrow to support our athletes. As I said, the CSS Lions and the GSS Panthers are competing in the events this weekend. So commendations to all for the preparation, and let me tell you, it's been a long season for the students and their coaches and teachers, and they have been doing an excellent job of trying to find that balance, making sure that they have their schoolwork done, the academics completed. Many of them are writing external exams in just over a month and a half or so, and so they've been balancing SBAs and IAs and their normal academic activities, and they've been doing an exceptional job. So kudos to them. We know that we also have the countdown clock on. The countdown is on for the 2023 edition of the Nevis Primary Schools Championships. Some people call it mini Olympics, some people call it the interprimary, but the 2023 edition the countdown is scheduled to take place on April 5th, 2023, commencing at 12 noon. We have tickets go on sale. So hot off the presses. If you missed it, tickets go on sale on Monday, and we have early bird tickets on sale, listeners and viewers. They will be on sale as of Monday at all of the schools on the island. You can stop by a school and get your ticket. The Department of Education, the Department of Sports, and we'll also have a booth at the Agri Expo for both day 1 and day 2. The price is early bird. Children, $5. If you don't buy it, if you try to buy it after the early bird, it goes up. Adults, $15. If you try to buy it after, it goes up. Parking, it's an additional $15. So inside parking, if you want to park inside, it would be an additional $15. Those are the early bird prices. Regular prices, the $10 for children, adults $20, and the parking is an additional $20. And the early bird tickets will be on sale up until the 31st of March. Okay, so early bird tickets are on sale. And just I want to highlight also, we know that traditionally for the last 28 8 years we've heard the Gulf Insurance in the primary championship. This year we have a second title sponsor on board in the Bank of Nevis International Limited. So we have the Gulf Insurance Limited, Bank of Nevis International Limited Inter Primary Schools Championship 2023 happening right here on Nevis. There are so many changes and activities happening, but we know that you are as excited as we are. I know that the students are, some have butterflies and some have excitement, but the April 5th date is a target date that we are all looking forward to, and we encourage you all to continue to support our students. In the meantime and in between time, they have end of term tests happening as well, and so I'm as excited about the end of term tests as I am about interprimary. And so students, I hope that you're spending time reviewing and studying and making sure that you get your work done. And so, as I said, it's a very active term. We want to encourage you parents, that balance that we talk about, that balance is important. Remember, as they transition, many of them are going to be on a college track. They want to even if they want to excel at a particular sport, they may want to access a scholarship. In order to access a scholarship, you have to have a balance. You have to have your academics, you have to have the athletic component, whether it be track and field or football or whatever the sport may be. And so we are trying to create that atmosphere now of balance. I remember working in various school districts, and students will be told, you are student athletes. Students first, athletes second. And that's the mindset going straight through to college. When you get a college scholarship, if you drop on your academics, you get kicked off the athletic team. And so we're preparing, these are some hard lessons that our children have to learn, but if we're preparing global citizens who will be able to navigate anywhere in the world, we have to make sure that we give them those standards. So once again, tickets on sale commencing Monday. You can stop by any one of our schools on the island. They'll have tickets on sale for you, and you'll be able to access their tickets at any of our schools. And finally, we have one more sports meet left. The Charlestown Preschool has their meet on Tuesday at the Bath playing field, so please go on out and support the Charlestown Preschool. They are I think our last on the roster for their sports meets, and so we want for the sports meets calendar for this term, and so we encourage you to go out and support our little children. It's actually a kids athletics fun day, fun activity sports meet. So thank you so much for your support of the community. You have been rallying behind our students for the whole season, and we encourage you to keep doing so as we transition into Easter break, because right after interprimary we go straight into Easter break. And so we thank you for your support, and when we come back we get to meet our disaster ambassadors for this month after the break.
From Queen City, Nevis, this is the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, Vaughan Radio.
It's time, come on, rise and shine. You know, I know we're gonna have a great time. And now we're past it quickly, you don't wanna miss it. So turn up the radio, it's you on the go. Youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Oh, youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Let's go. I will learn new things. I will be creative. Grab your gears, let's gather around. An adventure is always waiting. With storytelling news for us, and we always know what's happening. We act, we play, we dance, we sing from 9 to 10 on Saturday morning. Youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Oh, youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Whoa, let's go.
Let's go. Good morning to all of our radio listeners, our viewers on Vaughan Radio's Facebook page and YouTube channel, and welcome to this edition of Youth on the Go here on Vaughan Radio. Today is a special day. It's the 4th Saturday of the month, and on every month on the fourth Saturday, we have a feature. Our feature complements the Nevis Disaster Management Department, and of course, they are collaborating with us at the Department of Education through our schools here on Nevis to promote, to bring an awareness of the various natural disasters, the various disasters which can affect us here on Nevis. And this is part of our awareness campaign, as well as our drive to ensure that we are all prepared. It doesn't make sense for any disaster to come upon us and we kind of look confused, or we end up with the worst possible fate because we are not prepared. And so we want to commend the team at the Nevis Disaster Management Department, particularly Mr. Gumba and of course Ms. Bendito, who have been working assiduously on this project. We will get to talk a bit more about it, as I said, throughout the year and of course throughout this episode. Today is a great day because we have with us in the studio two very esteemed ambassadors. They are our tsunami ambassadors, and I will allow them to say good morning and introduce themselves.
Good morning. My name is Aria Liebert. I am an 11-year-old student at the St. Thomas's Primary School.
Good morning. My name is Zahnela Clark. I also attend the St. Thomas's Primary School. I am 12 years old.
Okay, Elijah and Aria. So both of you are here this morning, and you are the esteemed student ambassadors. You're the disaster management ambassadors, and your disaster focus this month is what? What is your disaster focus?
Tsunamis.
Tsunamis. And of course, for all of our listeners and viewers, during the course of this week, there was much talk on the island about tsunamis as we had the Carib Wave exercise happening during this week. Aria, we're going to start with you. Tell us and tell all of our listeners, what exactly is a tsunami?
A tsunami is a series of giant waves that happen after earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, landslides, and meteoric impacts.
All right. So, Aria and our listeners, we heard about tsunamis this week, and just for those who have been following us for the year, you heard reference made to earthquakes, we heard reference made to landslides, and we've had representatives through this very program talking about those disasters to date. All right? And so the waves travel in all directions from the area of disturbance, much like a ripple effect. You know, when you drop a stone in the water and you get that ripple effect, much like that ripple effect. That's how the waves that Aria talked about just now, that's how they travel, and it happens, like I said, when you throw a rock in the water. That's the effect that we get. The waves may travel as fast as 450 miles an hour in open sea. I don't even think I can even imagine. Can you all imagine? The cars, our speed limit here is 40 miles per hour or thereabout. 450 miles per hour. As big waves approach shallow waters along the coast, they grow into a great height and smash into the shore. They can be as high as 100 feet and can cause a lot of damage along the shore. And I know most of us may know somebody who's 6 feet tall. Maybe if we're lucky, you might know somebody who's 7 feet tall. I know we don't have any buildings in Nevis that are 100 feet tall. So can you imagine waves of 100 feet coming towards our island? Okay? Elijah and Aria, people out there might be asking, what are the types of tsunamis?
There are 3 types of tsunamis. There are local tsunami, regional tsunami, and distant tsunami.
A local tsunami is one that originates from within about 100 kilometers or less than 1 hour tsunami travel time from the impacted coastline. Authorities have little time to evacuate the population.
A regional tsunami is one that is capable of destruction in a particular geographical region, generally within 1,000 kilometers from where it begins. Regional tsunamis can arrive to affected coastlines within 1 to 3 hours of being generated.
A teletsunami or distant tsunami is a tsunami that from its origin It is more than 1,000 kilometers or more than 3 hours tsunami travel time from the impacted coastline.
Wow. So what exactly is it? And this is information that's new to me, and I'm hoping that our public is also learning a bit. But Elijah, what are some of the causes of tsunamis?
Well, tsunamis are caused by earthquakes of high magnitude, landslides, and volcanoes. Also meteorites, which they say is a weather condition.
Okay. All right. And what are some of the factors that determine a tsunami hazard's impact in a specific community? Aria?
Speed of onset, sometimes wave height, and
all right, so let me repeat just in case we missed the question. So we're talking about some of the factors that determine a tsunami hazard's impact in a specific community.
Some factors of that are the speed of onset, impact forces, currents, wave height, the time of day, whether high tide or low tide, the geography of the area.
All right. And so as we talk about that, some people might be wondering, well, you're telling me about what causes it, you're telling me about some of the things that might determine the impact or how much it affects us, but what do we look out for? How do we know a tsunami is coming? What do we look for?
Well, first thing is when you feel a strong earthquake at the coast, when it's strong enough to make you fall. Sea level fluctuations. This is abnormally receding water or increasing sea levels. Unusual wave behavior, and also roaring thunder-like noises.
So if we've seen some of the wave action changing up, and we hear, and we know we had a recent strong earthquake, and we hear rumbling, that's a recipe for disaster, right? It means we have to do what?
Get to higher ground.
Get to higher ground. Evacuate, get to higher ground. Wonderful. All right. So, Arya, as we continue, how fast does a tsunami travel?
in an open ocean, tsunamis can reach 500 miles per hour or 800 kilometers per hour. So a near-field tsunami will arrive within minutes. This is why it is so important for the people to understand natural warning signs of a tsunami and act immediately to get to safety.
And the good thing for Arya and Elijah, the bad thing for me is that they're both athletes. So I know they could run, right? They can make it up in minutes. I have to work on my timing, but it's important, like Arya said, that we know the warning signs, that we know, and you realize the word that she used? She said the natural warning signs. Those natural warning signs are what we just talked about. You're hearing the rumble, the earthquake, what else did we say? The rumble, the earthquake, the fluctuations of the sea, the waves are behaving abnormally. Those are some of the things that tell us, if nothing else, get to higher ground, as you said, or evacuate. So, Elijah, what do we do before a tsunami?
Well, we build an emergency kit. We make a family communication plan. And if the water recedes in a very noticeable way, or goes out to sea, you have to get away from that area immediately and get to higher ground. This is nature's warning sign that a tsunami is coming.
And as I said, many people want to listen out for something. They want, disaster management or somebody, police or somebody to tell them that's happening. But I've realized this morning that you keep saying there are natural ways. We just have to observe. Right? Arya, what do we do during a tsunami?
During a tsunami, we should listen to the evacuation orders and leave the area immediately. Take any pets with you. Move inland away from the ocean and towards higher ground. Stay away from the beach. Never go down to the water to watch the tsunami come in. If you can see the wave, you are too close to escape it.
Whoa. So, little story. we all live on an island, and whenever we see something interesting happening with the waves, guess what we tend to do? We go closer and watch, right? But Arya is saying, do what?
Run.
Go the other way, because if you're close enough to see it,
Can't escape
you
it.
can't escape it. Oh, I love that. If you're close enough to see it, you can't escape it. All right, Elijah, what do we do after a tsunami?
Well, after a tsunami, you shouldn't return home unless officials tell you it is safe to do so. Stay away from any debris in the water, because it could be dangerous. Stay out of any building with water around it. Water can make floors crack and walls collapse. Text, don't talk, because you can block the phone lines for emergency workers.
Ooh, okay, that's an important fact.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, you have to text and don't talk, and because we want to make sure the lines are open for those persons who really need to help others and to get information out there. Okay, so we have some words that we want our public to know. What are the words that we need to know? Arya?
Inland, away from the coastline.
Seismic sea waves. This is another way to describe tsunamis.
Evacuation is leaving an area that has been declared unsafe.
Debris is rubble, trash, or random materials like large pieces of wood, metal, or plastic. A tsunami information statement. A tsunami information statement is issued to inform that an earthquake has occurred or that a tsunami warning, watch, or advisory has been issued for another section of the ocean. In most cases, information statements are issued to indicate that there is no threat of a destructive basin-wide tsunami and to prevent unnecessary evacuations as the earthquake may have been felt in coastal areas.
A tsunami advisory is issued when a tsunami with a potential to generate strong currents or waves dangerous to those in or very near to the water is imminent, expected, or occurring. A tsunami watch is issued to alert emergency management officials and the public of an event which may later impact the watch area.
A tsunami warning. A tsunami warning is issued when a tsunami with a potential to generate widespread inundation, that word means flood, is imminent, expected, or occurring. Bathymetry. Bathymetry is the measurement of depth in water, like bodies of water, oceans, rivers, and lakes. Bathymetric maps look a lot like topographic maps, which use the lines to show the shape and elevation of land features.
A cancellation is issued after a evaluation of water level data confirmed that a disruptive tsunami will not impact an area under a warning, advisory, or watch, or that a tsunami that has diminished to a level where additional damage is not expected.
All right, so we've learned a lot, and I think we'll have to go through our listeners might be like, I want to hear that again, or I want to hear more about that. We've learned a lot, and we want to thank our ambassadors. They're going to stick with us a little bit longer. We'll take a break, and when we get back, we will have a conversation with a very important lady as it relates to disaster management. We'll tell you who she is. We'll have that conversation, but we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back.
When VON vibrates, the whole Caribbean must shake.
860 AM, the powerhouse.
It's time, come on, rise and shine. You know, I know we're gonna have a great time. And now we're past it quickly, you don't wanna miss it. So turn up the radio, it's you on the go. Youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Oh, youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Whoa, let's go, let's go, let's go. I will learn new things. I will be creative. Grab your gears, let's gather round, an adventure is always waiting. With storytelling news for us, and we always know what's happening. We act, we play, we dance, we sing from 9 to 10 on Saturday morning. Youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Youth on the go. Whoa, let's start the show. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning to all of our radio listeners, our viewers via Von Radio's Facebook page and YouTube channel, and welcome to this edition of Youth on the Go here on Von Radio. I'm Zahnela Claxton from the Department of Education, and we're here with you this very special Saturday. Every Saturday we share information and updates, and this Saturday, the fourth Saturday of the month, has been designated our Disaster Awareness Saturdays, and we have a collaboration between the Nevis Disaster Management Department and the Department of Education through our schools, and we are sharing information. We're bringing about an awareness of the various disasters which can potentially affect us here on Nevis. Just before the break, you heard from our tsunami ambassadors in the persons of Elijah Clark and Aria Library, both of whom are students of the St. Thomas's Primary School. The St. Thomas's Primary School is the school of focus for this month as we do the Tsunami Awareness Campaign. And we have with us another very important person who will just share some general information on tsunamis and any other updates which you, the public, should know, and interact a bit with our students as well. We have Miss Krista von Hillebrand Andrade, and she is the Deputy Director of the ITIC CAR, UNESCO IOC NOOA Partnership. And so, good morning, Krista.
Good morning, Zahnela, and good morning to Delijah and Aria. It's just been such a pleasure to join you this morning on your fantastic show.
And Krista, can you tell our listeners where you're joining us from this morning?
Yeah, so I'm the manager of the Caribbean office of the International Tsunami Information Center, of which I'm also the deputy director, but that office is located in Hawaii. My office is located in Mayagüez, Puerto Rico. But today I am joining you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, because I've come up to Pittsburgh to see my daughter, who's going to college, university here, and she has a track meet. So I've come up to see her later on this afternoon.
Oh, wonderful! We have a track meet happening for our students here on the in the Federation as well, Krista. So that's something else we have in common. It's a pleasure to have you. Can you share any general information with our listeners as it relates to tsunamis, just so that they can get a sense of what you do at the center and any other information you'd like to share?
Yeah, so NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration of the U.S. government, it operates a Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, and it also operates the International Tsunami Information Center. And so these two centers contribute both to the strengthening of our tsunami warning system in the United States, but also internationally. And so the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center was designated by the governments of the Caribbean as its tsunami service provider. So when earthquakes occur, earthquakes or other types of events occur, they rapidly analyze them and they decide whether or not there's a tsunami threat associated with that event. Usually it's an earthquake because 80% of tsunamis are generated by earthquakes. So once they decide that and they determine which countries are under threat, then they issue a product that goes out by email, it goes out over satellite, it goes out by fax, and it comes right into Nevis, and that those products will say, if there's a threat or is there no threat for Nevis. If there is a threat, what time would those potential tsunami waves reach Nevis? And so that would be, in addition to those natural warning signs that they might have seen, then that's an additional confirmation. Look, there is or is not some type of hazardous event that could strike. And then we continue to analyze that information, the seismic and then we see sea level, right, changes in the sea level, and then 20 minutes after an earthquake we can say, oh, it's going to be this big, and then we inform that to all the countries, and we keep on monitoring the event until, like Elijah had mentioned, we get to a point where we say, this tsunami that's been generated, it's no longer represents a threat. We give an end of threat message, and then the national authorities then would decide what type of message to give. So one of my responsibilities is making sure that the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, which is located way off in Hawaii, but receives just as fast as you get in Nevis, they receive the seismic data also there, and they process it, and they process the sea level data to give this information. My other role is, we know that it's not just enough to tell people, oh, there's a tsunami coming within 15 minutes or within an hour or within 3 hours or in 6 hours, because different tsunamis may arrive at different times depending where they're generated. People need to be prepared. And so, just like what you're doing right now through your radio program, the ambassadors area and Elijah are doing, Nevis Disaster Management Organization. So the International Tsunami Information Center, and specifically the Caribbean office, we support that education outreach together with the Caribbean Tsunami Information Center. So we organize and coordinate exercises like Caribe Wave. We support a program called Tsunami Ready. St. Kitts and Nevis was one of the first countries to be recognized in all the Caribbean as tsunami ready, and that's a project that we support. So those are kind of education outreach materials, and we do mapping, we're monitoring sea level seismic, so we do all that kind of thing. And I'll take a break and see what questions you might have.
All right, wonderful. So there's a lot of information though, and I didn't realize that the reach was so far that in Hawaii they're processing.
Hello?
Are you hearing me? Hi, Krista, are you hearing me?
Hello?
Yes, so I was saying I wasn't aware that the reach was so far that that they are tracking even as far as Hawaii, and I'm impressed by the work of your center there in Puerto Rico as well, and the impact. Can you tell us a bit about the Tsunami Ready project? Because I am happy. I'm hearing St. Kitts and Nevis was among the first, was the first country to be tsunami ready. Can you tell us a bit about that project, what it was like, what it was about, and how we were able to prove that we were tsunami ready?
I'm having problems. I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yes, we're hearing you clearly. Are you hearing us?
Okay, now I hear you again.
Okay, perfect. So I was saying, can you tell us a bit about the Tsunami Ready project? I know you highlighted it and you said that we were indeed the trailblazers in that project. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so in the United States, way back in 2001, we started this program where we recognized communities that met specific indicators like guidelines. They had to have like tsunami inundation, tsunami evacuation information, etc. So Puerto Rico joined that national U.S. program, and then the Caribbean saw how that empowered communities to get ready for tsunamis. And so the Intergovernmental Coordination System for the Caribbean said, let's try this in the Caribbean. Let's not, what they're doing in the United States is, it's really great to see how communities have evacuation maps, people are educated, they're doing exercises, they have sirens, they have communication systems. Let's do that in the Caribbean. So we said, well, let's test it in the Caribbean. So we started testing it, and the first one to test it was the island of Anguilla, and they became tsunami ready sort of under the U.S. system. And shortly later, St. Kitts in 2016, they said, we would like to follow this program. So St. Kitts and Nevis decided that they wanted to do it for the whole federation, and so then they went through a series of process, and they got their, we did unfortunately we couldn't do a numerical modeling of tsunami inundation for St. Kitts and Nevis because we didn't have the bathymetry data. I remember Elijah talked about having to know the depth of the water. Mm-hmm. That was one of the terms he covered, bathymetry.
Yes.
Because it depends on the bathymetry, the depth of the water, how big the tsunami wave is going to be. So if we don't know the depth of the water, it's hard for us to determine the size of the tsunami. So what we did was we did what's called a bathtub tsunami inundation model for St. Kitts and Nevis. So you would have heard that tsunamis can reach up to like 100 feet. So but that's in places that have like pretty big, it's pretty big tsunami. So what we did was we said, well, let's just be conservative, and so what we did was we made a 30-meter height line around St. Kitts and Nevis, and so then that determined what was the evacuation. That would be determining what was the evacuation zone. Now you're very lucky in St. Kitts and Nevis because the topography goes up pretty quickly, right? So it wasn't very far from shore where you reach that 30-meter. And then with that information, then we did the tsunami evacuation map. That's when I hooked up with Nevis Disaster Management Organization and Neiman Bastere. In fact, I was on Vaughan Radio back in 2016 when this was all going on, and I've toured. I've gone all the way around your island, visited your many schools that are in that area that's underneath 30 meters in your churches and government buildings. And so you developed a communication system, and they became tsunami ready under a pilot project. And then but this doesn't, this expires your recognition. So last year we worked once again with the Federation, and they renewed their tsunami ready recognition. So St. Kitts and Nevis is one of the first countries to meet the goal of the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, that 100% of communities at risk of tsunamis are prepared and ready and resilient by 2030. St. Kitts and Nevis is one of the few countries that's checked that text box because they're tsunami ready. Yeah. There's always more work to be done. There's always more, but you should be incredibly proud of the work that's been done. You've painted, you put up signage, you've had the maps, and I was so impressed. Some beautiful murals that were painted in both St. Kitts and Nevis, because this is something that, it expands all areas of life. So St. Kitts and Nevis had that great idea to do these murals and engaged local artists to do that. So just some of the work that St. Kitts and Nevis is doing over many, many years to get everybody ready for when that tsunami strikes, you're ready.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Krista, for sharing that. Aria has a question for you.
Out of the 3 tsunamis that I have listed, what is the more powerful one? What is the most powerful one?
Out of the 3 types of tsunamis.
Yes. So you would have mentioned, I think it was Delija that mentioned, or maybe it was Area, that they're local tsunamis. Those are tsunamis that are generated that can reach the shore within 1 hour. Then we have regional tsunamis that reach the shore between 1 and 3 hours, and then the distant tsunamis. The most dangerous ones are the local tsunamis for 2 reasons. Usually the ones that are generated closest are going to be the largest, and then we have that time factor. That you reach so quickly that it's very hard for emergency management to make sure that everybody is aware, and that's why natural tsunami warning signs are so important. Nevertheless, tsunamis that are between 2 and 3 hours or even more distant, they have a challenge that you don't have with your local tsunamis, and that is that you're probably not feeling the earthquake, or if you felt the earthquake, it was light. And you probably have no idea that a tsunami is on its way to St. Kitts and Nevis. And that is why Tsunami Ready is so important. So that's when your National Disaster Management Organization, Nevis Disaster Management Organization, has to get that message from PTWC and then quickly turn it and spin it around and get it out on the radio, get it out on through police sirens and start making the call downs and calling people and informing people so they get out of harm's way, because they might not have their first tsunami warning sign might be the water receding, or even the crest of the wave reaching. Not always does the water recede before a tsunami comes. Sometimes the first part of the tsunami that you get is the crest, and that's causing the flooding, right? So that's very important. And in Kariba Wave, we tested, most of our whole tsunami warning system is designed around earthquakes, but they can also be generated by volcanoes. But before I talk about that, I'd like to know if there's some more questions from our young ambassador.
Delija has one for you.
You talked about the crest. What is a crest of a tsunami?
The crest is the highest point. So a wave has a peak, which is the high part of the wave, and it has a trough. So it's a cycle where you get, trough, peak, right? That's a wave. It goes up and down. When you sit at the shore, right? And sometimes, the wave crests, so that's the peak of the wave, and then the sea is flat. That's the trough, right? So the tsunami has that. So sometimes when the tsunami hits you, you don't know if it's going to be the trough, the bottom part of the wave, which is when the water goes out, or it's going to be the crest or the peak when the flooding occurs.
Oh, interesting. Great information there, Krista. I'm learning so much this morning. Our ambassadors are also learning a lot. Do you have anything else that you want to share, Krista? I think.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I wanted, because there are active volcanoes in St. Kitts and Nevis, right? And last year we witnessed the eruption of the Hunga Tonga Hunga Apai volcano in the Pacific. And we saw that as a result of that eruption, a very powerful tsunami was also generated. And in fact, it created such big atmospheric pressure waves that it was also, which then in turn also generated tsunamis, which were small tsunamis, but they were observed in the Caribbean. So in the Caribbean, we have lots of active volcanoes. So we're integrating the volcanoes, how we can alert people on tsunamis generated from volcanoes. And that's what we practice in Kariba Wave. So we practice a scenario by which the Mount Pelée volcano of Martinique had an eruption, collapsed, and generated a wave. And in fact, in the simulations we did, that wave reached St. Kitts and Nevis in a little bit over 30 minutes in the simulation. So very fast. Of course, you would not have felt any earthquake, but I'd like to add a fourth warning sign that they learned in Tonga, and we have to be aware in the Caribbean when we have volcanoes. If you smell some really strong sulfur, very strong sulfur, that's like when volcanoes erupt, and that can also be a sign of a big eruption. And since some of our volcanoes are close to shore, maybe they could generate a tsunami. So that's another thing that we're on the lookout for, and we're strengthening our warning system, because we always know that all of us have much to learn, and we can improve.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Krista. I don't know if you have anything else to share. The ambassadors don't have any questions. Any more questions. I think you have done an excellent job sharing. We have learned so much today through this program and through the sharing with you, and we greatly appreciate that. Is there anything else that you want to share? And of course, our students here were part of the Caribbean Wave experience this week.
Yes, no, I heard about your activities there, and hotels were also engaged in business, and that's very important, because everybody has to be ready, right? Not only in the schools, but our whole population. I just want to remind people that, certainly tsunamis aren't as frequent as hurricanes. There's no season for earthquakes and tsunamis. They can occur anytime. But on April 16, 1690, remember that there was around magnitude 8 earthquake that had a huge impact on Charleston and Nevis. In fact, your capital had to be moved because of the impact from the earthquake and the tsunami. So that your capital before was called Jamestown. Not incorrect?
You're correct.
And after that earthquake, then it was moved to Charleston. So, they have happened in the Caribbean. They've happened in St. Kitts and Nevis. They're not frequent, but that doesn't mean that we can be complacent. We have to do exactly like the ambassadors and you're doing today on your program and Nemo's doing constantly is, being ready, being aware, and being on the lookout and being observant, as you said, on these warning signs and information that's provided by the national authorities.
All right.
So St. Kitts and Nevis, stay ready.
You're
ready, but you have to stay ready, okay?
Thank you, Krista. Before you hang up, our ambassadors want to also show some appreciation.
Yes, thank you for bringing this information to us this morning.
This information was very valid to us, and we will use it later on.
All right. So, of course, Krista, your time, and we thank you for giving up your time this morning, especially during this very busy day for you. We wish your daughter the best in her track meet today, and we wish her every success. Thank you for sharing on tsunami readiness, and the importance of the work that we are doing here. Have a wonderful day.
Okay, bye-bye. All the best. And may your athletes also do great today.
Thank you. Thank you. That was our Deputy Director of the ITIC Caribbean, Krista, Von Hildebrandt Andrade, and she is very knowledgeable as it relates to tsunamis, students. That was a lot of wonderful information, and she brought back to our memory of Jamestown. That is not something that is impossible for us, because Jamestown once existed. Students, did you know of Jamestown?
Yes. We heard about it.
Yes.
We learned it in school.
In school. And so it is something that you're doing a good job to make sure that it doesn't happen to anybody in the future, and I want to commend both of you for a job well done. So commendations to you, Aria, and of course to you, Elijah, for the wonderful work that you did today. Before you leave, though, I have to hear from you, and our listeners have to hear from you about your Caribbean Wave experience this week. Your school, of course, is one of the schools that is within the tsunami zone, and so you have to get to higher ground as soon as possible. After an alert or after you've observed the warning natural signs that we spoke about. How was the experience for you?
Well, the experience was, well, we did it before, so we knew what to do, so it wasn't like something to figure out, since we already had everything planned. The teachers told us what to do. They told us to get organized. The only issue that some people had, right, was that they didn't want to like line up, because in the case of a real tsunami, that wouldn't be an issue, because you wouldn't have time to get organized.
Or is that the case? Do you need to, and maybe we should use this as an awareness campaign for that, Elijah, because it is important, even in an emergency, to be organized. What would happen if you don't line up and if you're not organized is that people will tend to trample over each other, which will cause death. And so it's important for us to do that, so that we practice, and that's why preparedness is important. We practice doing it the right way, so it becomes natural. You know, since you're both athletes, the only way that you can improve on a race is to, and if there's something wrong that you're doing in a race and they tell you, so for example, some people have a slow start coming out, and they say you come out, okay, Elijah says he's one of them, and so you have to practice your start, and you practice your start, and you practice your start until you improve. Or both of you are extremely well-spoken individuals, and you do well in school as well, and to any math concept that you have to do, when you're learning a new math concept, you have to practice, and then you'll get it right. The same thing obtains for the preparedness and the awareness campaign. You practice, and you practice it the right way. So Elijah, I'm glad that you raised that. So when you go back to school, remind your classmates and your schoolmates that you have to do it the right way, so that when it comes, we don't go crazy and start running over each other and kill people. So they don't die via the tsunami, but they die because we were not organized. So it's important for us to work on that.
I would also like to tell the public one more thing.
Go ahead, Elijah.
So during a tsunami, the first thing you would think about is finding a vehicle to get to higher ground fast. But if everybody is trying to get into a vehicle and get to the higher ground, there will be traffic jams, and when there's traffic jams, can't move forward. So the tsunami will reach you in a matter of minutes. So when you are out of a car, you can move more freely to get to where you need to be, and also cars can cause accidents.
All right, so thank you, Elijah, for that, because we missed that important point. Aria, I'll give you a chance to also wrap up and share your experience.
I helped the preschoolers because they were with us in the tsunami drill. I helped them up the hill because it was very difficult. I was more in the back, so you know, I made myself useful. It was also a very exciting experience for me, because you see all these people running, and some little children are telling me that it's a real tsunami and everything, and they said, why do our teachers make us line up and everything? And I tell them, do you want to fall over or anything? And yeah, they need to stay in order. So make sure you stay in order.
All right, thank you so much. And our school for next month. Of course, we had a wonderful experience today with our ambassadors. Next month, we will be back here on the last Saturday of the month. We will get to meet our students then, our student ambassadors, as well as learn more about the April, the disaster of focus for April. And so we will share that with you during that time. Unfortunately, we didn't get to have a chat today with Mr. Gumba, but I think he's fine with that because I think a lot of the information came out. And so we want to once again give a round of applause to the Nevis Disaster Management Department and a round of applause to the schools, and today to our students in the room with us who, as I said, kept us engaged, kept us on our toes, and they were able to keep us informed. Congratulations to you, Arya. Congratulations to you, Delijah. You did an excellent job, and we look forward. It's always a pleasure talking with you, and we look forward to learning more from you and our other student ambassadors in the coming weeks as we look at every fourth Saturday of the month. We look at different disasters of focus. And so next month it's the volcano, and we can also look out for the disaster ambassadors in the inter-primary match. They will be carrying the disaster banners during the match, so we will have some awareness happening there as well. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, ambassadors, and of course thank you, Krista, if you're still listening, and we look forward to hearing and meeting with you again soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
With all the power from the tower, this is